Hi, family. This is day 79 of our Reading Through the Bible Together in a Year series. Today we're in the book of 1 Samuel or Shemuel, and we are covering chapters 11 through chapter 14, verse 23. We're not going to finish chapter 14 today. But what we are at so far is that Samuel is like an old dude, and he's the last judge of Israel, essentially. And he's kind of a priestly as well, we've seen earlier on. But he's also a prophet. He's been speaking through with the voice of God, essentially acting as God's mouthpiece, right? God has been telling him things, and he's been doing them and saying them to Israel. And so Samuel is kind of like a good character in the story, but his sons are terrible. And so that's when the people decide that they want a king like all the other nations to judge them instead of these judges and stuff. And I talked a little bit yesterday about the giving up of the responsibility of what it means to follow God directly and trying to push somebody else into that role so that they can follow God and you can just support them. Long talk about it, but it's an important thing to think about. And the person that God chooses to be their first king, even though he has Samuel tell all the people all of the bad stuff that's going to happen with the king, right? The king is going to take your sons and daughters and make them his servants, and take your fields and give them to his servants, and it's not going to be good. But Israel's like, no, this is what we want. So Samuel's like, cool. And God gives them Saul, who's this donkey herder who doesn't know where his donkeys are. And he's head and shoulders above everybody else. So he almost is resembling this Nephilim type that they've seen, that they've been fighting against, right? This valiant warrior. And they're like, yeah, this is the guy. And so Saul has now become the king of Israel, the first king of Israel, the first human king of Israel, if you want to be particular on it. But let's see how that plays out a little bit today. Then Nahash the Ammonite came up and encamped against Yavesh Gilead, and all the men of Yavesh said to Nahash, "Make a covenant with us, and we will serve you." Nahash the Ammonite said to them, "On this condition I will make it with you, that all your right eyes be gouged out. I will make this dishonor all Israel." The elders of Yavesh said to him, "Give us 7 days, that we may send messengers to all the borders of Israel, and then if there is no one to save us, we will come out to you." Then the messengers came to Gibeah of Shaul, and spoke these words in the ears of the people. Then all the people lifted up their voice and wept. Behold, Shaul came following the oxen out of the field, and Shaul said, "What ails the people that they weep?" They told him the words of the men of Yavesh. God's spirit came mightily on Shaul when he heard those words, and his anger burned hot. He took a yoke of oxen and cut them in pieces, then sent them throughout all the borders of Israel by the hand of messengers, saying, "Whoever doesn't come out after Shaul and after Shemuel, so shall it be done to his oxen." The dread of Yahweh fell on the people, and they came out as one man. He counted them in Bethek, and the children of Israel were 300,000, and the men of Yehudah 30,000. They said to the messengers who came, "Tell the men of Yavesh Gilead, tomorrow by the time the sun is hot, you will be rescued." The messengers came and told the men of Yavesh, and they were glad. Therefore the men of Yavesh said, "Tomorrow we will come out to you, and you shall do with us all that seems good to you." On the next day Shaul put the people in 3 companies, and they came into the middle of the camp in the morning watch, and struck the Ammonites until the heat of the day. Those who remained were scattered, so that no 2 of them were left together. The people said to Shemuel, "Who is he who said, 'Shall Shaul reign over us?' Bring those men, that we may put them to death." Shaul said, "No man shall be put to death today, for today Yahweh has rescued Israel." Then Shemuel said to the people, "Come, let's go to Gilgal, and renew the kingdom there." All the people went to Gilgal, and there they made Shaul king before Yahweh in Gilgal. There they offered sacrifices of peace offerings before Yahweh, and there Shaul and all the men of Israel rejoiced greatly. Shemuel said to all Israel, "Behold, I have listened to your voice in all that you said to me, and have made a king over you. Now behold, the king walks before you. I am old and gray-headed. Behold, my sons are with you. I have walked before you from my youth to this day. Here I am. Witness against me before Yahweh and before his anointed. Whose ox have I taken? Whose donkey have I taken? Whom have I defrauded? Whom have I oppressed? Of whose hand have I taken a bribe to make me blind my eyes? I will restore it to you." They said, "You have not defrauded us, nor oppressed us, neither have you taken anything from anyone's hand." He said to them, "Yahweh is witnessed against you, and his anointed is witness today, that you have not found anything in my hand." They said, "He is witness." Shemuel said to the people, "It is Yahweh who appointed Moshe and Aaron, and that brought your fathers up out of the land of Egypt. Now therefore stand still, that I may plead with you before Yahweh concerning all the righteous acts of Yahweh, which he did to you and to your fathers. When Yaakov had come into Egypt, and your fathers cried to Yahweh, then Yahweh sent Moshe and Aaron, who brought your fathers out of Egypt, and made them to dwell in this place. But they forgot Yahweh their God, and he sold them into the hands of Sisera, captain of the army of Hazor, and into the hand of the Philistines, and into the hand of the king of Moab, and they fought against them. They cried to Yahweh and said, We have sinned, because we have forsaken Yahweh and have served the Baals and the Ashtaroth. But now deliver us out of the hand of our enemies, and we will serve you. Yahweh sent Yerubaal, Bedan, Yaphthah, and Shamuel, and delivered you out of the hand of your enemies on every side. And you lived in safety. When you saw that Nahash, the king of the children of Ammon, came against you, you said to me, No, but a king shall reign over us, when Yahweh your God was your king. Now therefore see the king whom you have chosen and whom you have asked for. Behold, Yahweh has set a king over you. If you will fear Yahweh and serve him and listen to his voice, and not rebel against the commandment of Yahweh, then both you and also the king who reigns over you are followers of Yahweh your God. But if you will not listen to Yahweh's voice, but rebel against the commandment of Yahweh, then Yahweh's hand will be against you, as it was against your fathers. Now therefore stand still and see this great thing, which Yahweh will do before your eyes. Isn't it wheat harvest today? I will call to Yahweh, that he may send thunder and rain, and you will know and see that your wickedness is great, which you have done in Yahweh's sight in asking for a king. So Shamuel called to Yahweh, and Yahweh sent thunder and rain that day. Then all the people greatly feared Yahweh and Shamuel. All the people said to Shamuel, Pray for your servants to Yahweh your God, that we not die, for we have added to all our sins this evil, to ask for a king. Shamuel said to the people, Don't be afraid, you have indeed done all this evil. Yet don't turn away from following Yahweh, but serve Yahweh with all your heart. Don't turn away to go after vain things which can't profit or deliver, for they are vain. For Yahweh will not forsake his people for his great name's sake, because it has pleased Yahweh to make you a people for himself. Moreover, as for me, far be it from me that I should sin against Yahweh in ceasing to pray for you, but I will instruct you in the good and the right way. Only fear Yahweh and serve him in truth with all your heart. For consider what great things he has done for you. But if you keep doing evil, you will be consumed, both you and your king. Shaul was 30 years old when he became king, and he reigned over Israel 42 years. Shaul chose for himself 3,000 men of Israel, of which 2,000 were with Shaul in Michmash and in the mount of Bethel, and 1,000 were with Jonathan in Gibeah of Benjamin. He sent the rest of the people to their own tents. Jonathan struck the garrison of the Philistines that was in Gibeah, and the Philistines heard of it. Shaul blew the trumpet throughout all the land, saying, Let the Hebrews hear! All Israel heard that Shaul had struck the garrison of the Philistines, and also that Israel was considered an abomination to the Philistines. The people were gathered together after Shaul to Gilgal. The Philistines assembled themselves together to fight with Israel, 30,000 chariots, 6,000 horsemen, and people as the sand which is on the seashore in multitude. They came up and encamped in Michmash, eastward of Beth-aven. When the men of Israel saw that they were in trouble, for the people were distressed, then the people hid themselves in caves, in thickets, in rocks, in tombs, and in pits. Now some of the Hebrews had gone over the Yarden to the land of Gad and Gilead. But as for Shaul, he was yet in Gilgal, and all the people followed him, trembling. He stayed 7 days according to the time set by Shamuel, but Shamuel didn't come to Gilgal, and the people were scattering from him. Shaul said, Bring the burnt offering to me here, and the peace offerings. He offered the burnt offering. It came to pass that as soon as he had finished offering the burnt offering, behold, Shamuel came, and Shaul went out to meet him, that he might greet him. Shamuel said, What have you done? Shaul said, Because I saw that the people were scattered from me, and that you didn't come within the days appointed, and that the Philistines assembled themselves together at Michmash. Therefore I said, Now the Philistines will come down on me to Gilgal, and I haven't entreated the favor of Yahweh. I forced myself therefore, and offered the burnt offering. Shamuel said to Shaul, You have done foolishly. You have not kept the commandment of Yahweh your God, which he commanded you. For now Yahweh would have established your kingdom on Israel forever. But now your kingdom will not continue. Yahweh has sought for himself a man after his own heart, and Yahweh has appointed him to be prince over his people, because you have not kept that which Yahweh commanded you. Shamuel arose and went from Gilgal to Gibeah of Benjamin. Shaul counted the people who were present with him, about 600 men. Shaul and Yonatan his son, and the people who were present with them, stayed in Gevah of Benjamin. But the Philistines encamped in Michmash. The raiders came out of the camp of the Philistines in 3 companies. One company turned to the way that leads to Ophrah, to the land of Shual. Another company turned away to Beth Horon, and another company turned the way of the border that looks down on the valley of Zeboim, toward the wilderness. Now there was no blacksmith found throughout all the land of Israel, for the Philistines said, lest the Hebrews make themselves swords or spears. But all the Israelites went down to the Philistines, each man to sharpen his own plowshare, mattock, axe, and sickle. The price was 1 paim, each to sharpen mattocks, plowshares, pitchforks, axes, and goads. So it came to pass in the day of battle that neither sword nor spear was found in the hand of any of the people who were with Shaul and Yonatan, but Shaul and Yonatan his son had them. The garrison of the Philistines went out to the pass of Michmash. Now it happened on a day that Yonatan the son of Shaul said to the young man who bore his armor, Come, let's go over to the Philistines' garrison, that is, on the other side. But he didn't tell his father. Shaul stayed in the uttermost part of Gibeah, under the pomegranate tree which is in Mikron. And the people who were with him were about 600 men, including Achiah the son of Achituv, Yechavod's brother, the son of Pinchas, the son of Eli, the priest of Yahweh in Shiloh, wearing an ephod. The people didn't know that Yonatan was gone. Between the passes by which Yonatan sought to go over to the Philistines' garrison, there was a rocky crag on the one side and a rocky crag on the other side. And the name of the one was Botzetz, and the name of the other Seneh. The one crag rose up on the north in front of Michmash, and the other on the south in front of Gevah. Yonatan said to the young man who bore his armor, Come, let's go over to the garrison of these uncircumcised. It may be that Yahweh will work for us, for there is no restraint on Yahweh to save by many or by few. His armor-bearer said to him, Do all that is in your heart. Go, and behold, I am with you according to your heart. Then Yonatan said, Behold, we will pass over to the men, and we will reveal ourselves to them. If they say this to us, Wait until we come to you, then we will stand still in our place and will not go up to them. But if they say, Come up to us, then we will go up, for Yahweh has delivered them into our hand. This shall be the sign for us. Both of them revealed themselves to the garrison of the Philistines, and the Philistines said, Behold, the Hebrews are coming out of the holes where they have hidden themselves. The men of the garrison answered Yonatan and his armor-bearer, and said, Come up to us, and we will show you something. Yonatan said to his armor-bearer, Come up after me, for Yahweh has delivered them into the hand of Israel. Yonatan climbed up on his hands and on his feet, and his armor-bearer after him, and they fell before Yonatan. And his armor-bearer killed them after him. That first slaughter which Yonatan and his armor-bearer made was about 20 men, within, as it were, half a furrow's length in an acre of land. There was a trembling in the camp, in the field, and among all the people. The garrison and the raiders also trembled. And the earth quaked, so there was an exceedingly great trembling. The watchmen of Shaul and Gibeah of Benjamin looked, and behold, the multitude melted away and scattered. Then Shaul said to the people who were with him, Count now and see who is missing from us. When they had counted, behold, Yonatan and his armor-bearer were not there. Shaul said to Achiah, Bring God's ark here, for God's ark was with the children of Israel at that time. While Shaul talked to the priest, the tumult that was in the camp of the Philistines went on and increased. And Shaul said to the priest, Withdraw your hand. Shaul and all the people who were with him were gathered together, and came to the battle, and behold, they were all striking each other with their swords in very great confusion. Now the Hebrews who were with the Philistines before, and who went up with them into the camp from all around, even they also turned to be with the Israelites who were with Shaul and Yonatan. Likewise all the men of Israel who had hidden themselves in the hill country of Ephraim, when they heard that the Philistines fled, even they also followed hard after them in the battle. So Yahweh saved Israel that day, and the battle passed over by Beit Aven. So Saul is king, and he's making some rash decisions, but he's getting out there, and he's attacking the Philistines and pushing them back, and the Israelites are starting to see him and being like, okay, well, maybe we shouldn't have questioned him a little bit. maybe we should support him. And he goes out and he's fighting, and it's good, and things are well. And one of the things that Saul does right is that some of his followers are saying, whoever said that you shouldn't be king, we should like hunt them down and kill them. And Saul's like, no. Yahweh has given us this victory. Everything is good. We should just be thankful. So like, good on you, Saul. But then there's this part where the Philistines are gathering against the people of Israel, and Saul Samuel has said, I'm going to be there in 7 days to make a sacrifice and be there on behalf of Yahweh. And Saul's like, cool, sounds good. But Samuel's a little bit late, and Saul is like fearful that the people are going to scatter and run away because Samuel doesn't show up. So Saul goes ahead and makes the sacrifice himself, and that's like a big no-no. And I'm not exactly sure why, if I'm being perfectly honest, because I know that later in the story, David as king is going to make sacrifices, and it's going to be good. But when Samuel shows up and finds out that Saul made the sacrifice without him, he says, you've acted foolishly, and God's going to take your kingdom away from you. So I still have some studying myself to do on this. I'm not exactly sure what specifically about Saul was bad that he did that sacrifice. So I'll have to look into that some more, because I've been pondering over it a little bit, and it's not coming to me. But maybe it will be clear as I continue reading. Because as we know, this book, this wonderful collection of texts, there are some things that repeat, and there's some things that cycle. And sometimes you'll come across something that's odd, and then 2 or 3 books and several chapters later down the line, you'll read a detail and be like, oh, that's why. Oh, man, here's the connection. So, cool stuff. But the last thing for today is that we get to peek into Jonathan, Saul's son, and who he is. And I really like this story because he's with his armor bearer, and they're like on their own going up against people. And the armor bearer is all, well, what should we do? And Jonathan's like, Yahweh, there is no limit to Yahweh. He doesn't need lots of people. He doesn't need small amount of people. As long as we're going with Yahweh's plan, we can defeat anybody. And it's like this great testimony of faith. And we totally understand why David and Jonathan got along so well and why they were best friends, is because Jonathan is this great character, Saul's son. And which is cool, because Jonathan, with Saul being king, that means Jonathan is next in line to be king. And so it's really neat to see that Jonathan's such a good stand-up guy, and he's supposed to get the kingdom, And then when, as we'll see in a little bit, when David enters the scene, Jonathan and David are friends, and Jonathan totally supports David being the next king, even though on earthly kingdom standards, Jonathan has the right to say, no, this is my kingdom, actually, because my dad was the king. And so it's cool. We like Jonathan. Jonathan's a great character of the story. So good part of the story. Let's just keep going. I'll see you tomorrow. But as for the rest of the today, I hope it is wonderful.